we often speak in spontaneous ways. So this is from the Dianic tradition of the way that we would invoke at the beginning of our meetings. So if you would for a moment just find yourself really in the center of your own being, with your feet flat on the ground, and breathe from your belly. And just relax to find yourself here in this space, in this room, with these women from around the world. And just feel yourself here in this space being held by this ancient land all the way through the concrete to the deep earth. We invite the ancestors of this land and ask that you come in the presence of this room and hold the speaking in the most sacred way. Great Mother, she who is all things, we ask for your blessings on this day of gratitude and sharing. We ask for the wisdom to speak through each one of us, our hearts open, our minds clear, our breath free, that our...
And who are people?
Yeah, I'm looking forward very
Frida,
much
who
to
are
what
you?
people are going to say.
Sorry.
I'm
Sorry,
Frida
could you say
Werden
who you are?
from Vancouver, BC. And I feel the importance of this meeting for the future of our ongoing activity, and I look forward to what everyone has to say.
I was signing away my permission, so I don't have anything to say on this.
Okay.
I'll pass.
I'll pass.
I'll pass.
I had brought up with, I'm Marguerite Rigoglioso. I had brought up with Jen and Heide the idea of really marketing the Societies of Peace book, that I feel this is an opportunity for us to get the work out there. And I would suggest that each one of us passes on through email, through our email network, notification about the book's availability to our educated lay public friends, to our scholar friends, and to logical faculty members within our institutions who might buy it as a course book. That's really, I think, our main market. And one very easy way to do that is to create a concise email, and maybe that's something, I know you've already brought us one, but something that's fairly concise, that maybe lists what the titles are and the authors are, with a short paragraph. They could click more for the information. And then that is something that can be sent to each individual faculty member in logical departments all over the country and the world. These would be anthropology departments, women's studies, what else would it be? History, possibly archaeology. So that if each of us can do our part, and then I think Jen and Heide were talking about a unified effort, possibly hiring someone to do that. I think we can really get the word out about the book and get this thing sold and the information out there.
I have one page only about the book and the purpose, the title, the speakers, and then I will send it to Genevieve and to you.
Yeah.
We can elaborate it.
Yes.
It will be perfect, and then Genevieve is so kind to find a person.
just checking.
Well, I mean, we could find somebody in the network.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That would
Because
do
the
it.
main thing is to put out the request clearly that the professor consider using it as a course text. That's the protocol there.
Can I tag women in the gift economy on the back of that?
Yeah.
You know,
I think it would be good to actually make it a dual.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we have a logo?
We had, it happened that Heidi and I
unbeknownst to one another, have almost exactly the same logo that we've been using for a long time. Which is, mine is a heart with the world in it upside down. And Heidi's is this
The world
as a heart.
It's amazing. It was amazing. It was created
Give me
I'm not so positive about it.
Part of every enterprise that we're associated.
But the question is, how do we unite the two logos?
Put the world
Just
upside down inside
Put
the
them
heart.
together.
Put them together, yeah.
Yes, that's
So it's
what
already
we had.
upside down?
And her world is a heart.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But one thing that we could do is take out an ad in the National Women's Studies
Yes.
catalog.
They should review society's piece.
Yes, they should.
Yeah.
That's
That
it,
doesn't
get
mean
it
they will.
reviewed, that's the other thing, in journals.
Well, you also might give them some suggestions of who could review.
Yeah,
Who wants to review?
there are those within our network who could review.
Yeah.
There needs to be somebody who isn't in the book. Somebody
I
who-
don't mind reviewing the book for India, for Indian journals.
Perfect.
I'll do it for in Israel. I'll review the conference, I'll put a review in the Women's Studies newsletter and other places, a review of the conference and the main books, our books and other books. And if anybody of the writers wants me to write a short review, just send me the review. I mean, send me the main. I mean, I'm not going to read everything, or you know. So just send me a paragraph or two, and I'll translate it to Hebrew and publish it.
I will present also a resume of the conference at my institute in Vienna because they're rather open for that. So, and I will also mention naturally the book, and I will try to introduce the book in my courses. Great. I will do so. I already used Heide and others.
Societies of peace.
Yes.
In German.
No, in English.
So who's going to design the piece that gets sent out?
You are. You are.
Well, you'll have to send me the information.
In addition to what Marguerite talked about the web page on the book and on, it should not only be on the book on that Society of Peace, but any other publication on matrilineal or matriarchal, related. We should add all those up, all our whatever writing we have. It'll be good because every time I try to find something about matrilineal society, we hardly get a. That's how I come to this conference, looking for materials and.
This is mine. Hello.
You just have to talk loud.
Yeah. Valentina, the idea you bring up is it's very important to have this more concentrated.
Yes.
And we are planning in Academy Hagia to create a completely new website. It's called Matriarchal Studies. Where we will ask all the scholars worldwide who are involved in this topic, and the indigenous scholars like you and others will be asked to bring their things in, and all the books which are important in this field. I think this might be the platform, the forum where all these things can come in. And as soon as it is finished, it's my work in November and December, I will send it around in our network groups, and then you know about it, and then you can help me to bring more and more of these Matriarchal Studies information in.
Then we make it a database and send it to libraries, make it available to libraries.
Just as Elle said now, I can translate into Norwegian and try to get it done.
Oh, great.
I'm not an academic anymore if they accept it, so I'm willing to do that.
Why not? I mean, translation.
I'm
Anybody
not an
can do.
academic anymore. I mean, at least officially.
Let's see, I just finished 9 years of work on a culture, village culture in India in the northeast called Odisha, in which the village goddess, who's known as Ma, is a surrogate mother to the women. When the young girl, usually in her mid-adolescence or even younger, goes from her own native village to the other village in marriage, she's told that she can no longer count on her mother, but that she can count on the village goddess to listen to her, to be witness to all of her problems, all of her feelings, all of her loss. And so the village goddess is a tree or a rock smeared with red, which represents the goddess. So I've seen this over and over again. The young girl, still in her bridal dress, goes to the village goddess to introduce herself, because the way in which they connect and communicate, they say it's a dream, but it's really a vision experience that comes out of their subconscious. So the Ma doesn't ask them or demand any offerings. She's only interested in a dialogue, and if she can, or to witness their problems, and if she can help, she does. And they have absolute, complete belief and confidence in her presence.
Great.
Just a question, are we dwelling on your Margaret's?
No.
We could go on.
Or
Whatever.
Angela?
You want to contribute more to that?
Yes.
You might also want to consider peace studies type departments.
Sure.
There's a lot of that kind of thing. And also economics. My niece came down to this
Oh, I didn't
conference.
make that clear.
She's an economics major at McGill. She's been studying economics for years. She's never heard of the gift economy. She's fascinated. And anyway, peace studies and economics.
Wonderful, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for
Yeah. Well, peace studies, because it's societies of peace.
Yeah, well, happy to review the difference.
Yeah. So are we going to keep on around? Now, feel free to careful with that.
I enjoy
Karina?
Yes, I just wanted to remind you that we have been talking with Jen about having the bibliography of the gift economy on the website. And I have several times asked people to send me their bibliographies of all the works that they have done or that they know of on the gift economy. So please do. I'm all dressed with no place to go.
Yeah, I want to make some comments. One is that I feel I acquired quite a lot of knowledge about matriarchal societies. I mean, nothing is enough. There's need for more. But at the same time, I feel being a Western and being an activist, I feel that I need more information about gift giving in other social frameworks. In other social frames, like I talked about the elderly, the other, elder people, older people on the other day, about anarchists, about women in academia, being partly a woman in academia. I mean, I think I mentor and gave gifts to many, and I think we have to acknowledge it and to talk about it and to show that it happens, that it's occurring everywhere. Not only, it's not only in First Nation society, First Nation people who are our leaders and our inspiration. But if we want to bring, at least I want as a Western to bring it into my culture, I need to look at my culture and show it. And I think, so this is one suggestion I want to make, to also throw lights on gift giving in Western cultures, which is different, and and it's very patriarchal. But I think we have to unravel it. This is one thing. Another comment I also said, I would like to learn more about models of gift-giving matriarchal eco-villages, all kinds of. And I've heard some examples throughout the conference, but I couldn't get all the information. And I think it's very important to have these models that we can again put into action. I mean, to build. And I'm trying. I told you I'm part of two groups that were going to try to. At least I'm going to convince them to try to do it in my way. But they're kind of open up to it. But I need models. I need information, and I think I would like all of us to join and share this information, and share this. For example, she's not here. What's her name? Nina Simons. What's her name? What?
Pioneers woman, yes.
Yeah. She mentioned eco village for the elderly in Japan. And I didn't get the enough information, but this is a good information.
Yeah.
This is a good model, and so I think.
I don't think it's a network. I think it's a network, not an eco-village in Japan, where people take care of each other.
Maybe,
Yeah.
okay,
There are other eco-villages.
but it's one way to do it. I mean, there are other ways. I mean, I'm looking for models, different kind of giving matriarchal models for the whole communities. You know, for the different parts of the community. And my third and last comment is that I suggest that our next meeting will be in Africa.
It's marvelous.
Can I add something to that? I found all the information wonderful, and it was really great to be with, but I also have the same difficulty because not only have a different kind of culture, I have a Balkan culture, a Slavic culture, but I work with people that usually don't go to school, if high school. I work in war zones, and yet I have to take whatever I got this seminar, I have to somehow convert all of that into pieces and over a curriculum that may take years that can be embodied within another ethnographic and racial type of landscape. And sometimes I find it almost overwhelming. Absolutely useless. I'll love the research, I'll love everything else like that, but here I'm faced with the very community, I think, that the gift economy and also what Heidi's trying to do in terms of matriarchal studies, which is very important in healing trauma. And when you look at the catastrophic statistics of violence for women globally, it is beyond it's cataclysmic. And yet, you know, here we're talking peace studies, and I just feel this exclusion. And how they can't quite relate. So I'm constantly taking the material, and I'm really grateful I have that from each one of you. Grateful. But I'm constantly taking it so that it could be metabolized by them.
I have a suggestion about curriculum development, because I've been involved with it from the art standpoint for a long time, and that is that you have to have a very simple structure that then can go into detail for more scholarly work, but the beginnings of it would appeal, I would think, to the audience that you were talking about, that at least had a structure to talk about.
But they're not simple. They're extremely
I understand they're not simple, but if you can put it into simple terms and then click into the broader picture.
I know what you're saying, but I think she understands because a lot of the women are very wise. Some of them have lived through 3 wars. So a lot of times I end up being their student. So when I try to exchange what I've learned or what I've done coming here to this conference, because they'll want me to give them a report. That's how it usually works, okay? So it's then all of a sudden they start having these social level discussions that, whoa, you know, and again, that curriculum, how do I merge them together? And it's a really huge abyss, whether I'm in Bosnia or Sri Lanka or the Congo or in Uganda, and it's usually done in small conversations. I have no computer, I have no usually electrical thing, I'm usually somewhere where none of that is, and it has to be symbolic, and I think maybe that's what you mean by the simple.
Yes.
It's not what I mean by the simple, but that's right.
I think we need to have somebody that's going to moderate here. Somebody want to?
you two are wondering.
Well, maybe we.
I can do it.
Do we check in?
Yeah.
Do we get around that?
We haven't gone around it.
it.
Okay, well, shall we go around then before we?
I respond to
Okay.
that.
Just to say that I have explained the gift economy to grassroots people quite often, and they understand. I certainly try to not make it too simplified.
Linguistics in it.
No, I try to put the language part in it, you know, I mean, but I don't want to dilute it or, you know, take the important part out. But I have done it and it's worked pretty well. The other thing I need to say is that the gift economy there's lots of examples of it around, but nobody connects it to mothering.
Yes.
So we need to find a way of reconnecting it to mothering.
No, I think I think if somebody should moderate, but we should definitely have the golden forts around, and I'm next in line. I'm not even asking to speak. Yeah, no, I'm saying, take the people who want to respond before we, to the specific point.
Because she's new to the network. No, we love her very much, and she's new to our network. I mean, at least much more than half of some of our work is not rooted in theory. We're not in the academy. I run an NGO and I do scholarship, but I do a lot of grassroots work, and I straddle many of these interfaces. And when we work with grassroots communities, many of whom have never even gone to school, live in shanties, etc., like Merla's experience and others as well, Wahoo as well. It's people will volunteer how they practice the gift economy in their lives every day as women, and through extraordinary poverty and stuff, and when one brings in the matriarchal aspect, the sacred femininity, the sacred sexuality stuff, and then they will attest themselves to the disconnect that's occurred and how critical it is for them to reclaim that. So the same is true in the Balkans. I'm convinced of it, although I've never been invited. And so we in our work and in the communities, the grassroots communities we work with, they embody it much more than our highfalutin theory will ever do, and have always and will always throughout time. We just have to tap into it. Oh, well, that's very good. You know, with the Muslims, if I bring in anything sexual or about the mother or whatever, they get, it's either not in the Quran, that's not in the Catholic Church. Yeah.
Vicky, did you want to say something?
Well, just sort of underlining that, I find also that, I think I forgot what I was going to say, so never mind, it was just a small thing.
Valentina?
Yes, responding to what Muthian and the other they're saying, because here it seems we have two parts, or two aspects or two groups. One is the academia and one is the activists who want to communicate the concept, the whatever, to the grassroots level. So we should have two strategies, because in the academia, they can do their own, promoting the books, promoting the ideas in the syllabus. That is what I'm going to do in my department, because we have economic anthropology, and I've been teaching it for many times, but I've never, till I get connected with you all, I never knew about this book, Gift Economy, So now I'm going to introduce it directly in my, as a reference book. And so also when it comes to matriarchal studies, we have a paper on women, gender. So we can introduce that. So this way we have to find a strategies, because me, from the academic viewpoint, that is what we can do. We can promote, in our own ways, our ideas, our books, etc. And the activists also, I don't know in which way you can promote. I mean, you sit together, of two strategies. One for the academia and one for the activists, to make the concept simple and pass it on to the general grassroots people. I mean, that's what I felt.
Both can do both.
No, we can do both, but we have to sit down and...
No, Valentina, sorry, you have to wait for your turn.
We have to work out. So we should work out on this idea, I think.
Vicky?
I remembered.
Yes, now you remember. Okay.
It stopped me short when you talked about the Muslim problem, but actually I'm not sure that it's any different, because I was thinking that what our work ends up being for women who haven't been exposed to it is a kind of reflecting back to them of what they already have and understand intrinsically. And so when I was thinking, when I went into Mexico in the 80s, I was invited to bring goddess images and teach my work, you know, and I was very shy to do that for the same reasons you're talking about, because it was with lots of different kinds of Mexican women, some indigenous, some not, you know, more wealthy or whatever, and more Mexican. So anyway, I just did it. I just took the pictures and did my thing. And the women, they were just blown away, and they reflected back to me that they were just felt it as grace to see these images, and the images were taken from all over Mexico. I mean, I was working on a piece called La Diosa Escondida, because I felt, you know, she's the hidden goddess, but she's everywhere. But they didn't know she was everywhere because it hadn't been, because the language of description and labeling always obscures what we're looking at in our own culture. So they actually received it in such a beautiful way. And I think it's true, then they'll receive it, and the activists will take it and use it in whatever way is appropriate in their own communities. So that sort of empowered me to keep going into that's the first time I ever left the country, and I just didn't know, like, is this a white feminist trip I'm on, or does this transmit? And so I think and then in Italy the same thing, you know, they're very Catholic, but so what? Deep down women aren't. They just aren't in any of the mainstream religions. They have their own deep stream, underground stream in some way. But I think I'm hearing you say you have to tap into it in a very secret way without saying the words. Yeah. Yeah.
Including in Islam.
Yeah.
I promise.
Yes, I would add some thoughts to this, because I'm not only speaking with this, on these topics in academia, very little in academia. I'm speaking to very different groups, including workers' women, all over the German-speaking area and so on. And so I'm experienced to put this topic on very different levels of language, yes, complexity. And I had the experience, I even speak I even speak about this to the people where I'm living, the Bavarian, in Bavaria, and the countryside people.
Indigenous.
Indigenous Bavarian people, which are very close and very Catholic. It depends on where we start with this point. For example, to the Bavarian people, I start with their homeland, which they love a lot, and I tell them, you have matriarchal traces here and a long history, then they are open. Of course, I use the concept matriarch in the end, not at the beginning. And they are very open, and when I use it in the end, they all are nodding. Yeah? And when I speak to workers' women, and this might be an idea for activists, I'm not an activist like you are, I think putting the mother in the center. This is a very easy and a very profound idea. That the mother is in the center. Women know, and women in many crisis areas know that the mothers are doing it already. They are in the center, they preserve life, they go on with their families, even in war times and so on. But the problem is they don't value this situation. They take it as nothing important and nothing special, but it is special. When mothers are in the center and care for their families and care for all the network with neighbors and so on, they are already creating new matriarchal elements. But they don't know it, and I think it would be a good way to tell them that this has a special value, to give all these patterns and this daily work a new value, and then it can start. We must not use the word matriarchal then, but mother centers, mother in the center, this has a lot of consequences. And it is easy to start there because mothers are doing it. So fast. Some ideas.
Thank you. I think what I would say to this process, it is still the challenge and the responsibility that we have for the intellectuals to become activists and activists to become intellectuals. How do we make that linkage
because we are not working in an abstraction. Yes. We are actually working in a very dynamic, vibrant motion of human experience. And unless we are able to capture where it is moving, to guide it not to be destroyed, because for me, there is an onslaught of conquest, if not annihilation, of the images of what motherhood is or who a mother is. And it's very unfortunate because this part of the world, the identity of the mother is sort of very distorted. But the part of the world I come, the image of the mother is still the only hope and the only inspiration that most people have. So that is what we should also try to build the synergy and connect, to inspire and to protect, because there is a deliberate onslaught on the African communities and societies to replicate what you have gone through. And yours was systematic, ours is a crash. So we will need to rethink of where we are and the kind of scenario we find ourselves and how we stand up to this, because the essence of gift economy, which to me is the life economy, is the centrality of who the mother is and how the mother manifestation continues. And that is what the corporate is doing everything to destroy. Look at the commodification of everything that is related to mother, from food production to food cooking to food serving to children rearing to even giving birth. You know, they have taken over everything. So all what I am saying, it is the question of that synergy and linkages, because we need a vibrant, strong movement. Get out of your academia offices and come where people are. And this time around, it is the action ongoing research. It is not the instruments you have always done. And that research will connect with the real life, because you must allow those who are holding that wealth to speak to what this gift economy is, in telling their own stories, in telling their own experiences. For once, actually, you should write what other people know and have and experience, not to come and investigate what they do. So it's a totally a paradigm shift and orientation in terms of even how we rethink what are we writing and for who are we writing and how do we want to disseminate the information that we have found. And I must tell you, for me, I have this testimony because I'm an activist intellectual, and though I have not written anything in terms of publication, I'm an authority in my own self for what I speak and what I say. For it is not me, it is the inspiration of that connectedness. What I speak, this energy that I manifest, it is out of the interaction with the dynamic and the real vibrancy of life where it is located, in trying to sustain life and to engage and to confront this onslaught, in particular to the mother or to the motherhood. And I want to tell you, there is hope, because like in my country, Kenya, it is already very clear that if there is going to be hope, it is how every other progressive force or imagination connects with the mother. The mother still continues to be fundamental. I want to tell you, the other day I was having a discussion with my own children, and suddenly my son just says, "Oh, you changed your name, now you are a matriarch." So I asked him, "What do you mean?" And he went on to explain. And he brought some young people of his own age, married young men, but they are not able to connect with their wives. So they came with their wives, and I had to keep on explaining what matriarch is and why I have a harmony relationship with my own sons, and how I'm able to deal with my daughter's in-laws in spite of them seeing me as an enemy. So the issue of the matriarch is fundamentally from the ongoing political question to be able to create a solidarity of realizing that the patriarchy market economy is the enemy of all of us, and that where we are, it is commodifying everything, including on how we relate. They want to choose and to sell to us on how we relate, because where we meet and how we meet, they are still dictating. So I am only but speaking my mind and my sincerity and honesty in saying this group, you have a big challenge to galvanize the paradigm shift from what we know of what the academia is. And we must have an academy that is located in our hearts and in our souls, but not in the books we produce and those libraries.
Linda?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're,
we can respond to issues before we go on.
I think it's better we wait for the list.
Are we responding? Can we respond?
That's what, this is the response.
Yes,
as I
but
have.
she's taking the names.
This-
So Linda's
Yeah,
next.
Linda
Listing is
signed up
Linda.
long time back.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm noticing all, I'm writing down all the names. Don't worry, you'll be.
Yeah. No, Wahoo has responded to the same thing that I was going to respond to, which was what you said a while ago. And I was also going to point out that I really didn't like the dichotomy between academe and activism. I think we have to think of it in a different way. As someone who has a PhD and someone who has also been a feminist activist pretty well all my life, and I became sort of both of them at the same time in a certain sense, what I have found is that we have to think about how people are able to think in a complex, holistic way. And if you use that as the criteria for a good thinker, then you will find, I think, that people in the community are able to think far better than people in academia. What we have been trained to do is to think through a number of assumptions, which are all patriarchal assumptions. The very foundation of academe is patriarchal. It deals with dichotomies. It deals with abstractions beyond, out of context. It has a whole bunch of fundamental assumptions which are fundamentally patriarchal and anti-women.
Yes.
And I think we need to begin there. That's part of what I meant yesterday when I said that I had to train myself out of the PhD knowledge that I had learned, because it was leading me in the wrong direction. It was forcing me into paradigms which were inappropriate, totally denied the knowledge. It didn't make any sense in Labrador. I mean, the women in Labrador knew far more than I did. And that was after having, passed my PhD orals and almost finished my PhD dissertation. And so what I think we need to do is to recognize that thought is a very complex interaction, let me introduce another concept, which is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. People in the world have wisdom. The academy has no wisdom. It's not able to have wisdom because it doesn't interact with the world. Women in communities have far more wisdom than people in the academy. And that's an important piece of quote, knowledge for the academy. That's why I think it's so important to have the sort of action research that Wahoo is describing. And from my point of view, it's not feminist research if it doesn't try to look for social change. If it does not try to transform the world, then it's simply not feminist research in my new definition and more sort of foundational definition of feminism. Unfortunately, a number of people in women's studies don't believe that anymore. I think all of us did at the beginning, or pretty well every feminist in Canada scholar that I knew when we were beginning to develop women's studies in Canada knew that and shared that fundamental assumption. That's no longer true thanks to patriarchal scholarship.
We have to go back to maternal.
Sorry.
Maternal
Can we
thinking.
put our names up in front of us really large? Because if we don't know someone's name by now, we don't like to ask.
Okay, I'm Eleanor Gay.
But I'm just saying it would help Banu as well.
If Bonus passed around a piece of paper, she would at least have everyone's name in order, as long as we sit in the same place.
There is a list that was already, the permission that has the names of winners. To make it.
Take from the American poet Adrienne Rich, who says that she thinks with her body, and that her source of knowledge is not an abstract place in her head, but it's in her body. And I think that all of us as women who allow ourselves to dip into our instinctual selves think differently than men. And the problem is that our thinking, our knowledge has been obscured. And it goes on that way. It goes on, and that's to address what you just said about women's studies. Women's studies has been co-opted. It's brought totally into the academic establishment.
Thank you.
And therefore no longer has the power of revolution.
Some of it.
Well, most of it in not all of it, I'm generalizing, but much of it in the United States.
I agree with you.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now I sign myself.
Are you permitted to do that?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm the one who decides. I wanted to say a bit, give an example to Wahu's comments on how multinationals have co-opted mothers' ways of doing things. Let's see, making food, for example. Today in India, people are so busy, they have no time to make food. So on Saturdays and Sundays, the husband says, let the mother get some rest. We go out and eat. This is the way it has become. A woman does. She also goes to work. But that day, she is free from making food.
But all the other days.
She makes food. Yeah. And also I think that we are losing a lot of knowledge, what we learned from our mothers and grandmothers, of how to make food, for example, local foods with local material. That's what I just wanted to add.
So is it
Jen,
to
it's
teach
Jen's
our
turn now.
husbands to make food?
Yes.
Go to the restaurant.
I just wanted to reply to Wahoo that we could, I think we should actually facilitate something like a book of those stories that you're talking about, or a video we talked about, I remember before, that we could circulate in the global north as well as the south.
That would be nice.
Now it's Vicky's turn, and then it's you, and then we go with Angela after that.
It's a continuation.
Yes.
That's why my name keeps coming up. I'm not making any gestures at all, I'm just sitting here.
Well, I wanted to respond to the whole dichotomy thing too, because I think, well, what matters to me and what I think we have here actually is we have incredibly strong women from so many different places, so many different forms of leadership in our various communities. And that it's like each of us has her own dharma. And I'm a really strong activist in my heart, and I always have brought that to my healing work and my women's spirituality work, much against my constituency's wishes. They want me to shut up about that, and I won't because it's intrinsic. But I can't really, my life doesn't support my going to Africa and being an activist. My life supports me to do exactly what I'm doing and to do it in the fullest way I can. And I feel that's so true for all of these very well manifested women who are here. And I'm so pleased that we're so well manifested in our various dharmas. And the other thing is that in the States, at least, a lot of our feminism that I appreciate the most, that hasn't been diluted, has been about creating new forms. At a certain point, we decided it was useless to keep dialoguing with the powers that be, because we always lose those dialogues.
Right.
They have all the social power.
Right.
So we started to focus on our Shakti and creating new forms. And I came into the so-called academy kicking and screaming. I mean, I didn't go into the academy till I was 60. I never had a job till I was 60, so I think it's a wonderful thing that we're infiltrating the academy. It's profound that we've created a master's degree program in women's spirituality and the goddess and matriarchal studies and all of this, and that it's actually made its way into a university. It's a profound accomplishment, and I want us to use every method we have of transforming our world. And I don't think it has to be a problem. I think it can be part of the solution to teach. I think, and I also really appreciated someone yesterday said, who said this, that the theory that we develop together synergistically in these kinds of settings is what guides the thinking in our culture. I felt that was very profound. Who said that? Does anyone know? Anyway, it moved me a lot. Whoever it was said the theory that we are making together in these books that we're wanting to disseminate, for example, is that theory is what guides the thinking of our culture. Whether we like that or not, that is true. And so it takes a long time. It's taken 30 years for the goddess movement in the States, for example, to begin to be able to articulate in a broad-based enough way and to begin to have enough status in the culture to be heard. I think we're only now at a point where we might be able to actually convince Ms. Magazine that they ought to give us a voice once in a while. You know? No.
Well,
they haven't. And they don't.
Abrahamic conception.
So anyway, I just don't ever want us to dichotomize so much. I feel it's such a coup if we can bring activism and scholarship and spirituality and magical, beyond spirituality, what we call shamanism, you know, the magical, the hidden, what Malika is working with, you know, the things that we hardly understand at all anymore in Western culture. All that is coming together in a way that can be articulated without leaving any of it out, without demonizing any of it. So that's my hope.
So we have a point of order. We want to know how old Vicky is.
What?
How old are you?
Oh, 62.
Okay.
Yes, I had a job for 2 years approximately. A paycheck, it's very nice.
Well, I would like to be a voice of hope on this topic. The Filipino women, because of the indigenous structure of clan and family, the Babaylan has been central to the formation and decision-making throughout history, which means that in the Philippines, the Babaylan is in academia. And I didn't get a chance to speak a little bit about this or much about this, but already when colonization happened, it created 3 types of people: indigenous people, urban people, and then the real government type of people. And within the academy, the Babaylans are the teachers. And I loaned a book to Vicky to look at. It's called A Shared Voice.
It's fabulous, I'll send it around.
And the book is an indicator, and it proposes, I have another book that I brought with me that's called Kapwa, that also includes academia and indigenous knowledge systems. And so it marries the two together And what's happening is that the educational systems in colonized countries are reintroducing the values and restructuring the global mindset of the country to address the indigenous mindset. So in the academy itself, that were Western academies, that's being introduced. And the marriage and support of indigenous knowledge systems are being supported both by the academy, by the government, and by the people in diaspora. So all of the 10 million Filipinos in diaspora are actually getting the bits of wisdom from our continuous history, along with the fusion of what I would call the ancient and the future, the visioning, because the Babaylan was intrinsically involved in bringing forward the spiritual knowledge for all the people. So what I would like to say is that this was the first time I've actually introduced this concept to this group, because we don't really talk about ourselves as matriarchal, because we are very bilateral. But from the point of view of this arena, we would be considered clearly matriarchal, because we are egalitarian, and it's all for the mothers and the children. So my responsibility that I have been charged by my elder was to make the interface. So I am happy to create that and put together the academics with academics who are actually working and have been working for 30 years. As an example, one example, St. Scholastica College is headed up by a Mother Superior. The Mother Superior is a political activist. The Mother Superior celebrated a 100-year anniversary of feminism in the Philippines, and the topic was Babaylan. So it brought together the indigenous people and the academics to actually bring back and acknowledge the deep wisdom. The main keynote speaker spoke about the Babaylan, and her topic was She Dances to Wholeness. So when the academia is actually having a conference, all of the ritual arts are included to demonstrate the theory as a living system.
And are the Babaylans included?
Yes.
They're
They
brought
are.
in.
Yes. 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 So what will happen in the conference next year, we'll have academics and practitioners, living people who are demonstrating the work. Some of those people we're trying to bring in. There's one in San Francisco actually now, who will be doing some work. But I wanted to just give an example. And another example is a Babaylan who was initiated at age 7, PhD, working in another university. And she headed up a conference, an international conference on mythology that had to do with floods and original stories. So our Babaylans and our women are already in academia. There is not a separation, and there is not a feeling of conflict with the women. There's a feeling of conflict with how to interface with the Western culture in academia. So anyways, I just wanted to give that as one example of how it has been integrated in at least one place that I know of.
I would request people to keep their comments short, so everybody gets a turn to speak.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Ready, Jen?
I just wanted to say that all this thing about addressing different levels is really important, because patriarchy is on all the different levels. And if you solve a problem at one level and you don't solve it at the other, those two, they come in and link together, and it's as if you hadn't solved the problem that you did solve. So we need to work on all different levels at once.
Marina?
Bueno, disculpas por haber llegado un poco tarde.
Sorry for having arrived late.
Espero que pueda compartirles unas ideas.
I hope to share with you some ideas.
Pienso que la academia y las mujeres de los pueblos originarios
I think that the academy and the women from the indigenous groups,
pienso que puede haber una fusión, que nos necesitamos ambas.
that it is important for both of them that there should be a permanent link together.
Sí. Yo misma como juchiteca tuve que ir a una universidad.
I, as a Juchiteca, I have to go to a university.
Y algunos conocimientos me parecieron importantes.
And some of the knowledge I received was important for me.
Y la relación con algunas mujeres académicas que han tomado conciencia y quieren aprender también de los pueblos, de la sabiduría indígena, me parece sus conocimientos importantes.
And the relationship with some people from the academy who really want to learn about the knowledge, the ancestral knowledge of the indigenous communities, I also think that that is also very important.
Porque ellas también pueden cambiar su actitud y pueden querer aprender, manifiestan una actitud de querer aprender.
Because the academy also, when this happens, they also show an interest for learning.
Y eso lo demuestran cambiando su actitud por una actitud más humilde.
And that is seen in the way they change, the way they think, for a more humble attitude.
Entonces, y las mujeres indígenas también podemos manifestar, al conocernos nosotras mismas, tener un cierto orgullo por lo que tenemos, por lo que sabemos.
And indigenous women, when we get to know ourselves, we develop a pride for being what we are.
Entonces, yo pienso que en lo particular yo he aprendido de muchas culturas.
As for myself, I have learned from many cultures.
Y yo soy una juchiteca, le llamo amalgamada.
And I am an amalgamated Juchiteca.
Sí.
Oh, sorry.
Perdón, es que como es traducción, pero si no se puede.
No, sí.
Entonces, yo, por ejemplo, practico yoga.
I like to practice yoga.
Y eso me permite bailar mejor en mis fiestas.
And that means that I can dance better in our own celebrations.
Y también mis amigas juchitecas también bailan más y empiezan también a practicar yoga.
My Juchiteca friends, they also do yoga and therefore they can dance better.
¿Qué más? Quería decirles otras cosas. Pienso que tenemos que aprender de todas, que el patriarcado es lo que nos ha dividido.
I think we have to learn from each other, and basically it's patriarchy who has divided us.
El patriarcado llegó, impuso fronteras, impuso límites.
Patriarchy imposed borders, limits.
En el mismo México nos separó también a las culturas indígenas.
In Mexico also is separated indigenous cultures.
Entonces hay una cultura maya tzotzil en Chiapas.
For instance, in Chiapas there is a Maya tzotzil culture.
Que tienen un principio muy importante que yo quisiera compartirles.
That they have a very important principles which I'd like to share with you.
Y este principio es para los curanderos y las curanderas.
And that has to do with the people who are in charge of healing.
Porque yo creo que eso es lo que somos las que venimos del feminismo o de las culturas originarias.
Because that is what I feel that those people that come from feminism and from original native cultures, we are healers.
Dicen que para poder curar, primero hay que curarse uno misma.
They say that to be able to heal, you have to cure yourself first.
Después la familia.
Then you have to heal your family.
Y después puedes curar a todos los demás.
And then you can start healing other people.
Eso es todo lo que les quería
That
decir.
is all what I want to say to you.